Katt Williams has always been the man who says what everyone else is too afraid to admit. He's clowned Hollywood, exposed fake friendships, and burned bridges most comedians tiptoe across. But this time, the stage was different. There was no velvet curtain, no mic, no spotlight. Just a trending clip that shook social media to its core. While America was busy arguing about who deserves help and who doesn't, Katt dropped a line that split the internet in half. "Ain't coming for black women, though. You just make yourself look stupid. She got SNAP EBT and a degree, homie." That wasn't a joke. It was a mirror. Because underneath the humor was a truth this country keeps running from. A truth about who's allowed to struggle and who gets shamed for surviving. Suddenly, every outlet had something to say. Some called him divisive. Others called him brave. But what nobody could deny was that Katt had once again touched a nerve. He wasn't defending laziness, he was defending reality. He was defending the people that the system loves to forget. Katt Williams has always been the man who says what everyone else is too afraid to admit. He's clowned Hollywood, exposed fake friendships, and burned bridges most comedians tiptoe across. But this time, the stage was different. There was no velvet curtain, no mic, no spotlight. Just a trending clip that shook social media to its core. While America was busy arguing about who deserves help and who doesn't, Katt dropped a line that split the internet in half. "Ain't coming for black women, though. You just make yourself look stupid. She got SNAP EBT and a degree, homie." That wasn't a joke. It was a mirror. Because underneath the humor was a truth this country keeps running from. A truth about who's allowed to struggle and who gets shamed for surviving. Suddenly, every outlet had something to say. Some called him divisive. Others called him brave. But what nobody could deny was that Katt had once again touched a nerve. He wasn't defending laziness, he was defending reality. He was defending the people that the system loves to forget. Here's what most of those Karens didn't know, or refused to learn. The majority of SNAP recipients are white, not black, not Latino. White. Out of more than 42 million Americans on food assistance, 37% are white, 26% are black, and the rest include Hispanic, Asian, and Native American families. Almost 40% of everyone on SNAP are children, 12 million of them. Another large portion are elderly, disabled, or working adults who simply don't earn enough to survive rising prices. So when someone sneers, "Get a job," they're missing the point. Most SNAP households already have one. They just don't make enough to live on. It's not laziness, it's the economy. And here's where it gets deeper. Food insecurity doesn't stay in one neighborhood. When people can't eat, kids struggle in school. Sick parents miss work. Local stores lose business. The whole economy feels the bruise. Economists say every dollar spent on SNAP generates $1.50 in local economic activity. That's farmers getting paid, truckers getting routes, cashiers keeping hours. Cut SNAP, and you cut the lifeline for entire communities. But facts don't trend like outrage, and outrage is exactly what the internet was feeding on, until Katt flipped the narrative. Katt didn't roll out with a press conference or an essay. He did what he always does. He told the truth in a way that made people feel it. He looked straight into the camera, cool and calm, and said what millions were thinking but couldn't phrase right. "Ain't coming for black women, though. You just make yourself look stupid. She got SNAP EBT and a degree, homie." That hit like a sermon wrapped in stand-up. Because everyone knew what he meant. Black women aren't the problem. They're holding entire families together while juggling degrees, jobs, and survival. And yet they're the ones America loves to humiliate whenever welfare becomes a talking point. Katt's line wasn't random. He's been studying the culture for years, watching how the media paints struggle as a character flaw. To him, this wasn't about food stamps, it was about hypocrisy. And that's the thing about Katt Williams. Beneath every punchline is prophecy. He uses humor like a scalpel, cutting deep while you're too busy laughing to flinch. He reminded America that poverty doesn't equal stupidity, and education doesn't always equal access. By the time his clip finished circulating, the tone online had shifted. People weren't laughing at anymore, they were listening. But there was another twist, one that made this entire debate even uglier. A wave of videos began spreading across social media. Black women crying into their phones saying they didn't know how they'd feed their kids without food stamps. Except, many of those women weren't real. AI had entered the chat. Dozens of those clips were artificially generated. Fake faces, fake voices, fake stories, engineered to look authentic enough to fool millions. Someone was weaponizing artificial intelligence to stir outrage. Think about that. While Congress played games with real people's lives, the internet was flooded with synthetic misery, designed to make Americans hate each other. It's digital warfare on a social level, a manipulation so deep that truth itself becomes optional. And the algorithm loves it. The more emotional the reaction, the longer people watch. So every fake cry, every fake plea, every fake black mom complaining on camera became fuel for racism, resentment, and profit. Because attention is the new currency. Katt Williams, who's been warning about illusions and industry control for years, recognized the pattern instantly. The stage changed, but the game stayed the same. Keep the people divided, keep them distracted, and they'll never notice who's really eating. Let's step back. 42 million Americans depend on SNAP. That's not a statistic then, and that's entire towns. Cutting that lifeline doesn't just mean empty plates, it means collapsing economies. When you strip billions from grocery budgets, small businesses lose customers, supply chains slow, and local workers lose hours. Even the people cheering for these cuts eventually pay the price, literally. Because when fewer people can buy food, stores raise prices to make up the loss. That means everyone's groceries cost more, including the ones screaming, "Get a job!" D.L. Hewley summed it up perfectly. There won't have been this many cold and hungry white people since the Pilgrims landed here. And this time ain't going to be no Indians to bail you out. Behind the laughter, the truth is brutal. Hunger doesn't discriminate. It just starts with the easiest targets. Meanwhile, the billionaires keep winning. While 47 million Americans wonder how to buy dinner, 92 billionaires hold $6.8 trillion. They don't argue on TikTok. They invest in the companies that profit from your outrage. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Starving the poor isn't about saving money. It's about keeping power. This strategy isn't new. It's the oldest play in the book. Turn the struggling majority against itself. When conservative lawyer Mike Davis tweeted, "Get off your fat ghetto ass. Get a job. Stop reproducing, change your culture," he wasn't just venting, he was signaling. That language is a dog whistle to the masses. Coded hate dressed as tough love. Throw in the word immigrant to blur the target and you get plausible deniability. But everyone knows who he meant. And the irony? The same white working-class families cheering that rhetoric are the ones living paycheck to paycheck. They're victims of the same broken economy. But instead of demanding change from the top, they've been convinced to punch sideways. That's how racism works in 2025. It's not always hoods and torches anymore. It's algorithms and talking points. It's political influencers selling division as patriotism. Katt Williams saw it decades ago. He said the system doesn't need to enslave your body when it already owns your attention. The new chains are invisible, forged in propaganda and pride. For years, people have called Katt unpredictable. But what he really is consistent. Every time he speaks, he forces a reckoning. When he joked, "She got SNAP EBT and a degree," it wasn't a punchline. It was a headline. It forced the world to ask, how can the most educated group in America, black women, still be painted as lazy or dependent? Because education doesn't erase inequality, it exposes it. You can have a diploma and still get paid less, still get overlooked, still fight twice as hard to be seen as equal. Katt used humor to bridge that gap. He reached audiences who'd never sit through a political lecture but would listen to a laugh that hits close to home. That's his magic. He doesn't preach. He pokes, he prods, he provokes. And by the time you realize you've been educated, it's too late to unhear it. That's why the system fears voices like his. Because comedy is disarming. It slips past defenses and lands straight in the conscience. America loves to brag about being the land of opportunity, the richest nation on earth. But behind that slogan sits a cruel paradox: endless wealth and endless hunger. In 2024, the U.S. ranked 22nd in food security among developed nations. 33 million households, That's 1 in 10. Couldn't guarantee 3 meals a day. Yet corporate profits and political donations hit record highs. How does that make sense? It doesn't. Unless you realize the system isn't broken, it's designed this way. The more desperate people become, the easier they are to control. The hungrier they are, the more likely they'll trade rights for relief. And as long as racism stays loud, nobody asks why billionaires keep buying yachts while kids eat from food banks. Every decade, the narrative gets recycled. Blame welfare mothers, blame immigrants, blame anyone but the architects of the inequality itself. Katt's response wasn't just a defense of black women, it was a challenge to the entire illusion. He reminded America that hunger has always been political, that the real thieves wear suits, not hoodies. By the time the dust settles, one truth remains. You can't eat pride. You can't feed your children with hate. And mocking the poor doesn't make you rich. It just makes you cruel. The same people cheering for SNAP cuts will one day feel those ripples themselves, because when you dismantle the safety net, the fall gets harder for everyone. Katt Williams said it best, not in words, but in attitude. Laugh now if you must. But the joke's on the ones who believe suffering is a spectator sport. When the groceries run out and the bills stack higher, racism won't feed a soul. Empathy will, truth will. And that's what makes Katt's message timeless. He wasn't just clapping back, he was warning us. If we keep mistaking cruelty for strength, the punchline will be our own downfall. Because when you let hate starve empathy, everyone goes hungry. And that's not a bit, that's America.